Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everybody. And thank you very much for joining me for this next presentation on EXI. Now, this is a slightly unusual subject when you look at all the other subjects that are being discussed, both yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I want to talk to you about what is the ultimate business award for any company. And it is very special, and the effects that it has on your business are enormous. Just a little bit about me before we move on, and it'll be very short. My name is Broughton, and my business expertise is international strategic marketing. I have worked and lived in France, Hong Kong, and in the United States, where I worked in the Research Triangle Park, which is the Silicon Valley of the Eastern Seaboard. So I've been very versed in working in companies that were involved with innovation and international trade. Let's have the next slide, please. The Queen's Award for Enterprise is the highest official award for any company in the United Kingdom. It's extremely special, it's extremely prestigious, and the problem is that many of you may think, well, this is an award that applies to companies like British Aerospace, as an example. And indeed, they have indeed won this. But this is an award that was actually started by the Duke of Edinburgh back in 1963, so it's pretty old in terms of how long it's been going. And what it wanted to achieve was to award small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs as we refer to them, for outstanding business performance in different categories, which I'm going to cover. And the importance about this award is that because it comes from Buckingham Palace, it is recognized not only nationally, but around the world. And it adds a level of prestige to your company that there is nothing else that can touch it. And let's have the next slide. The type of awards are split into 4 categories, and I'll go through them. But just before I do that, already in your minds, I can suspect that some of you are thinking, well, hang on a moment, I'm a small company. How does this apply to me? Well, in 2021, the awards were announced, in fact, only 2 weeks ago. There were 205 winners across the United Kingdom. And over 85% of those were small to medium-sized enterprises. So let's have a look at the 4 categories that apply to win the Queen's Award. And they are 4 very specific categories. The first one is for international trade. So it's for companies, British companies that are exporting goods across the world. And let me be specific about that. You don't have to have a UK manufacturing business or a UK supply business. You could be bringing the product into the United Kingdom that may have been manufactured outside, but the fact that you have then exported that product and therefore the funds that relate, or the costs that relate to it, come back into the United Kingdom, that is classified as an export sale. And even products that are part made in the UK would also be classified as an export sale. Companies that want to get into this category have to pass certain simple steps. You've got to have had a minimum of £100,000 worth of international sales in the first year of your entry. Now, there are 2 points of entry for international trade. You can either do it over a 6-year period, that's recording 6 years of overseas sales, but in that 6 years, you're not allowed to show any dip in any one year, or you can fast track it over 3 years, and again, with no drop in international sales. You've got to prove that your organization has achieved growth and how you have done that. Well, I've got some case studies a little later, which will answer that very much in detail. The next is innovation. And those of you that listened to David Adlington's presentation at 1 o'clock will have heard a lot about how you innovate products. And therefore, it's only fair that those companies should be rewarded. In the terms of the innovation category, you've got to have sold that innovation in the market for a period of 2 years, and you've got to be able to have proven that you have already recovered the costs of developing that innovation or are on the way to have recovered it. They're not looking for how much sales you've made per se, but they are looking for commercializing the success. So commercializing the success of innovation is important, and the Queen's Award will give you that accolade for achieving that. Sustainable development is to being able to show how you achieved start again, I'm sorry about that. It's over the last, you've got to be able to show that over the last 2 years, how you've achieved sustainable development, and it's lasted for longer than 2 years, and the benefits that that brought as a result. Promoting opportunity through social mobility is one of the new Queen's Awards, and I think it's something that's actually really special. It shows how that you have provided benefits to employees in terms of training and apprenticeships, and how that experience of work experience, career advice, and mentoring for young people, how their careers have grown as a result through your organization. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so how do you apply for the Queen's Award? Well, the good news is that applications for the year 2022, which is the next award timescale, opened on the 1st of May. And you'll see the link there, www.gov.uk/Queen's Award for Enterprise, and that will take you straight into the electronic application. As I said, they opened on the 1st of May, and the closing date is the 10th of September 2021, and any applications received after that date don't apply. Let me talk to you about how the process is actually, how it actually works. Each of the 4 categories have 4 application forms. So let's deal with international trade. So you get 4 application forms with a total of 35 questions. 50% of them apply to yes and no, and 50% of them require a 200 to 800 word response. And whilst you may be at this time thinking, oh my God, this sounds so complex, it isn't, because the information, the first form they ask is for information about your company and the structure. What's your registered address and email address, etc. The second form is about business performance. And this is where it becomes very important. And I'm going to talk to you, particularly with the case studies, of how that works. You've got to look at the strategy that you thought about and the case studies to support that strategy and success. The third form is financial performance. So that deals with the profit and the growth of the company, the sales figures, etc. And the fourth form is about your company's social responsibility. And again, I'm going to give you a case study of that a little bit later on. In terms of financial performance, the only thing I would say is this, that if you enter for the Queen's Award and you enter it by the 10th of September, if you are lucky, in early November, they will contact you and say you've been shortlisted. So if you've been shortlisted, that's a good sign. And at that point, they require your company's accountants to confirm that the figures that you put, that's profit, growth, turnover, onto the forms are legitimate and correct. Then what happens is that everything goes quiet from November, and then when you get round to March of that year, then you will have a note to say, well done, you've won, and it's then announced on the 21st of April every year, which is the Queen's birthday. Let's go on to the next slide, please. Okay, so what are the judges looking for? Well, here are 6 simple points to remember. Always use simple narrative with the knowledge that the awards committee do not understand your business, nor do they understand your industry sector. That's a little unfair on them because they are all experienced business people that are on the judges. But in principle, you know, they're dealing with lots of applications, so keep it simple. Explain the strategy that you put together for the growing of the business. And in the terms of international trade, for instance, or innovation, the markets that you targeted and how you introduced your innovation. You want to explain the journey that you went on. And bearing in mind that 200 companies in the whole of the United Kingdom win this accolade on average per annum, explaining the journey is important. They're looking for companies that understood that journey and had to probably climb some mountains to get to their final destination. They want to know how, why you overcame the challenges. And again, the case studies that I'm going to give you will show you how these great companies that I've worked with overcome the challenges. You need to demonstrate product development that you went through that met market requirements. And again, I'm going to show you that. And you also have to illustrate the risks that your company took to achieve great success. Let's move on to the next slide, please. So what happens? What's the impact of winning the Queen's Award? Well, it is very substantial. For a start, if you look at all the pictures that I've put there, let's start on the top left-hand side. If you are awarded the Queen's Award, you have the right to fly a flag outside your business premises if you want, or to put that logo on the building of your business premises. Here I've shown the picture of the flag. In the middle, you can see the actual logo. So in the case here, we've got one for innovation and one for international trade. And that logo can be displayed on all aspects of your company's material, whether it be electronic or hard copy, on your websites, on anything that you do, you can display that award logo. And you can do that for a period of 5 years from the period to which you won the award. In fact, so many companies that are winners like to actually enter again prior to the 5 years finishing, so that they can continue to show that logo because of the impact that it has, which I'm going to come to in a minute. You also get the most beautiful cut glass jug, or vase, I should say, with the logo on it. And you are presented by the scroll of appointment, actually signed by Her Majesty the Queen, which is a very prestigious document. And many of my clients that have shown that in their reception areas, for instance, becomes a talking point to any customers that walk into your building. And of course, in non-COVID times, you are also invited then to Buckingham Palace to the cocktail party. Used to be to meet the Queen, but these days it's with Prince Charles to celebrate these 200 great companies that have won. So there's a lot there to actually promote your businesses in terms of logos, etc. Let's have the next slide, please. I'm now going to come on to 3 case studies, and they're all really interesting. And I personally have worked with all 3 of these companies, and I've worked with all 3 to help them win the Queen's Award. So I know a lot of detail and background about them and the steps that they took to be successful. And so the first one is a local company in Essex, in Colchester. The company is called Automotive. As you can see from the pictures I put up there, they make car care products, and they are manufactured in the UK entirely, and they sell their products worldwide under brand names such as Williams Racing, Formula One, and just recently the McLaren team. These are both prestigious brand names, well known internationally, and therefore this company had to be able to show their strength and quality in marketing to be able to license those brand names. And in fact, it was because this company won the Queen's Award for International Trade in 2019 that McLaren's approached them. And as a result of McLaren's approaching them and then adopting this, that's now allowed them to enter the United States market, where they're doing extremely well. Can we have the next slide, please? And I'm going to stay with Automotive. Let me just tell you a little bit about the company, because I don't want you to get the impression, once again, that it's only big companies that can win this. Automotive employs 13 people. It has sales of about £2.5 million, and the business was founded about 15 years ago, started working from a bedroom in a private house. And the reason that Automotive won the Queen's Award was they were able to increase their export sales. They, in fact, doubled them in a 3-year period. And they doubled them because they took 3 courses of action, which were hugely successful. The first one was they were able to overcome sand particles when cleaning vehicles. In other words, in the Middle East, where they get a lot of sand particles and they do clean their cars every day, they were able to change the compound of their shampoo product, for instance, to enable the cars to be cleaned without scratching the cars because of these sand particles that were in place. So impressive was that they won the order to clean the 3,000 vehicles airside for Qatar Airways. That was a contract worth in itself £500,000. And in the middle there, you can see this pink foam all over a car. Well, you know, one of the other reasons that Automotive won the Queen's Award was that they understood, because they listened carefully to their customers, that in South Korea and Japan, the consumers prefer strawberry flavored smelling materials, shampoos, when cleaning their cars. And therefore what they did was that they added the pink dye to give it the full effect. And that opened up the Japanese market for them. And thirdly, you'll see on the right there, a product called Stay Safe. One of the interesting things that this company had was trying to get into the German market. The not invented here syndrome is a reality when selling to Germany, because the Germans are proud of their own manufacturing businesses. And therefore, to produce car cleaning products for the German market was not easy. And so what they did was that they found that there was a niche in that market for an antimicrobial shield. This was before COVID days, that would allow a non-alcoholic product to be used for cleaning the interior of the cars. And as a result of that, they had a lot of interest from BMW headquarters in Munich about this product being adopted by their 4,000 EU dealers. I'm not sure whether that contract was fulfilled at this time, but they were in serious discussions with BMW. So those are the 3 reasons that this company, Automotive Colchester, won the Queen's Award. And of course, as a result of that, it has shown great strength to their company worldwide. One of the things about that symbol is, particularly in the Middle East, it is often confused with a royal warrant, and therefore the buyers in the Middle East look at the Queen's Award and think, if it's good enough for her, it's going to be good enough for us. Let's have the next slide, please. And I'm going to take you now to a slightly bigger company. And then finally, I'm going to finish with a very tiny company. This is a case study of a company called the Broughton Group. They're based in Welwyn Garden City. This company started some 20 years ago in scaffolding, hoists, mast climbers, common towers, and crane decks, all the things that you can see in that picture. And I helped this company win the award for international trade in the year 2020. And this is quite a story. Once again, this was a business started by one man out of his bedroom at home, Today, 20 years on, this company now does 36 million in sales and employs 500 people. So quite a success story. And how they won the Queen's Award was really very interesting. Let's move to the next slide, please. Now, they won the award for three real reasons. On the left-hand side, you'll see the picture of what's called the Capitol Gate building, which is in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. And this is the world's most inverted building. It lists to the east by 18 degrees and is extremely tall. And the Broughton group had to invent a new type of scaffolding to enable them to work at heights in excess of 100 meters. So that was a huge challenge, and the risks associated in terms of health and safety were of paramount importance. They then went on to understand that in Saudi Arabia, along the Red Sea coast, the state of Saudi Arabia is moving away from its petrodollar economy, moving more towards a tourist type economy, following the Dubai model. And as a result, they are spending $1 trillion on developing that coastline. That's a large sum of money. And already the Broughton Group have won substantial contracts for that new development. So how did they do it? Well, they had to take some huge risks. They opened up a company in Dubai, a sales company, let's call it, so that they could win local approval of the major contractors, a lot of which were international, but also a lot that were local. They then took their training school that they have here in Hertfordshire, and they transferred a training school model to Dubai, so that everybody that works for their company there in the UAE goes through the highest standard of training as was started in the United Kingdom. And given that local labor is very difficult to get in the UAE for this type of sector, they employed most of their staff from Nepal, with the working with the Minister of Labour there, and they have the highest standards of help and support for their staff, the best and the most modern air-conditioned accommodation, the best and most modern training schools, and therefore the safety aspect of the work that they do on some of these incredible buildings in Dubai and the UAE and Abu Dhabi was really important. And the other reason that they won the Queen's Award was something that was quite unique. In the village of Gamlingay in Cambridgeshire, they have their distribution yard. And by that I mean, this is where they store all their hoists, their crane decks, their scaffolding. It's about a 10-acre site, and as you can see from that picture, they've got big trucks coming in and out of this village. And of course, you can imagine the disruption that could have happened to this beautiful Cambridge village and the countryside. They were absolutely aware of that, and as a result, they made sure that they became good neighbours. So they built the playground in the village primary school, they sponsor the village football team, they pay for all the Christmas lights in the village. So they are embedded in that village, and they really help the citizens, the people that live there, with jobs, etc. So it was a company that showed great understanding and a good and well-deserved winner of the Queen's Award. And the next slide, please. And now I'm going to show you something quite special. Let me see if that slide's come up. There we go. Here is a company with sales of less than 1 million, in fact, 700,000. And this company won the award this year. It was announced 2 weeks ago. And this is the most incredible story. And in fact, it's the one I'm most proud of, because this company makes model ships, as you can see there in that picture. And where they're different from the other two companies examples that I've shown you was that this company, PSM or Premiership Models, pioneered international e-commerce. So they opened up websites in Australia, the United States, France, as an example, and they were selling two different types of categories of products. First of all, they had the kits, which consumers could buy. And of course, unlike a lot of businesses that struggled very hard in the COVID lockdown, this company boomed because everybody turned to models. And let's move on to the next slide because I am conscious of time. This next slide that you're going to see is the reasons as to why they won the Queen's Award. First of all, they make models for museums, and I've given you examples here of Oman across the ages. That contract was worth £500,000. You can see the other picture there of an oil tanker, which is in the Maritime Museum in a town very near to Copenhagen in Denmark. To win these contracts was tough because they not only had to go through the tendering processes for government departments, which, as you know, in itself is tough enough, but having won those, in the case of Oman, for instance, the government or the tourist department of Oman that looks after this museum then sought a €300,000 bond to ensure that the quality and the product was delivered on time. And as a small company, you know, that's tough. But there is a British government department called United Kingdom Export Finance, UKEF, that gives small British manufacturers a 100% or 90% guarantee on bond support. In other words, the banks put up the guarantee for the Qatar Tourist Department in this example, and the bank had the British government behind them. And that's how it was done. And it was because this company not only pioneered e-commerce with its websites and using local SEO in Australia, for instance, always with a local Australian telephone number, always taking orders in Australian dollars, the fact that it was able to overcome major international tenders. These were the reasons why this company won it. And it's a great story. This company works out of 2 sheds in its back garden still with sales of 700,000. It's a great credit story. And the last slide, please. So I'm now coming towards the end of my time, and I want to thank you very much for listening. I hope you found that exciting, and I would encourage you to think carefully about applying for a Queen's Award. All my contact details are there on the screen. If there's any help I can give you or any advice I can give you, please get in contact with me. And I wish you much luck, and I really hope you go for this because the impact on it is quite incredible. And thank you so much for your time, and best of luck to you all.